Almost 11 months ago, I gave birth to a sweet little boy, and for about 16 weeks now, I've been training for a marathon. I've been learning how to balance being a mom, training, working full-time, and this weekend, it's finally time for me to run my first marathon as a mom. I'm so excited, and today we are heading to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, so that I can compete in the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. Good morning, it's officially a marathon weekend. It's Saturday morning and we haven't left our house yet, but I'm about to go get in a couple of miles, some strides in, and then go get my things ready to run a marathon this weekend. I'm super excited and I cannot believe that it's finally here. Hi there! Okay, so at this point, we're pretty much ready to go. We've got everything packed. I've got my run done, and Stetson is in there playing. I'm just getting a smoothie for Matthew and I made real quick to eat on the road, and then getting my coffee, and we're heading out the door. This is like huge. I just figured we could split it.
Perfect.
Not very aesthetic, but it is a fat smoothie, and it's absolutely delicious. Just a good road breakfast. I've got some ham over there made too. And then also have a coffee for once I finish my breakfast. Not sure if you can hear Stetson in there squeaking. He's very vocal.
You know what? I put it You should be curious because I think she's like, what are you getting about that?
Definitely have our most important piece. These are going in the car. You saw it here first. I have my shoes.
Okay, good.
So we are finally hitting the road, getting going. The plan was to leave about 8 and it is now almost 9. Matthew's getting gas, so we're only leaving like an hour later than planned, but that's okay. We're really good at waiting till the day of to pack, which really is not the best idea, but for some reason we just keep continuing to do so. And we really need to get better about that. But anyways, we did it again this morning, so we left like almost an hour later than planned. But we are on the road, headed to Oklahoma City. We actually recently moved, and so we're now living in Western Arkansas, and so we're only about 3 hours from the city, and so not too bad of a drive. We should get there around noon, and then our plan is to first go to the Expo, grab some lunch, then do a few things around town and meet up with my family later to see them. So super excited about today. Hopefully it's pretty chill, but also kind of fun with going to the Expo and seeing my family and things like that. And then planning to get to where we're staying pretty early and just have a super relaxing evening and get ready to run 26.2 miles tomorrow. So we just got to the Expo, about to go in and get our packet, and it is absolutely pouring. Unfortunately, they've already like canceled the races for today, but it does still look like it's going to be pretty good weather for the morning. But either way, we're about to go get out in this rain, if you can see it. It's actually slowed down quite a bit, but there was like some flash floods and things like that, so anyways, about to go now. Gonna have to get out in the rain and get an Expo and get our packet and all those good things, and then go get some lunch. Okay.
What's it going up there?
We finally made it to our final stop. We've gotten to my husband's aunt's house now. She's very kind and is letting us stay at her place before the race, and she only lives about 15 minutes away, which has been awesome, and so that's such a blessing. And again, just really thankful that she let us stay here. I'm kind of getting to the point now where I'm freaking out a little bit. It is almost 7 o'clock. I had some dinner, which I just had something super simple that I know sits well in my stomach, and so just had like a little bit of like a Greek style chicken on like some pita bread with some rice and like sweet potato fries. Now also about to go make some breakfast for the morning as well. Planning to just make a peanut butter and jelly.
Long way to run.
Yeah. Is it showing like the course or something?
Yeah, I'm just like, jeez. That's all the way across town and back.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like all of the city.
Jeez. So you run by the Capitol. Or across Prince.
But I'm just... Okay, I've got my peanut butter and jelly made, and breakfast is ready to go. I'm trying to get this camera set up to where y'all can see. Okay, there we go. But since this isn't where I live or anything, just not really sure of like a good spot to put it, and hopefully the lighting's decent. I wanted to show you guys the plan for the race in terms of what I'm wearing. So my plan is to wear the Tracksmith Twilight crop. I just got one of these, and really big on Poshmark because some of this stuff gets expensive, and I got this one off Poshmark for a really good deal, I feel like, and so this one's been great. I love the yellow. I feel like it's such a springy color, and so being an April race, I feel like that was fitting. And then I have a cool down sports bra. This is actually the first one I've ever had. I'd never had cool down brand before, but I really like this one. And then where's my shorts? They're in here somewhere. Okay, and then Tracksmith shorts. I'm not sure if you can really see the color in this, but these are blue. They are the ones that have pockets on the sides, so that is super helpful. There's 2 pockets on each side, so I have 4 pockets for gels. And then as for socks, let's go ahead and find all these. I've got just some feature socks here. Really like these like quarter crew kind of styled ones. They're a little bit higher on my heel, but not too high. And so yeah, this is the race fit. And then as for shoes, I recently got the Puma Nitro Elite 2s. I didn't get the newest ones because they're way too expensive and way out of my budget. However, I could afford the 2s, and so far I'm really liking them. I am definitely a Brooks gal, and I've only really ever run in Brooks for personal preference. I've run in a few other brands just based on like what my college had and things like that, but first time trying out Puma, and I really like these, and these are actually the first shoes I've ever had being listed as like a super shoe. And so I really don't have much to compare them to. However, I did a couple of workouts in them before, and I like how they feel. They're really light. They have such good response. So just really excited to see how they go tomorrow, but really liking the Puma Nitro Elites at the moment. And then as for fuel, here is what I've got. So obviously I already told you guys about the peanut butter and jelly, and that will be my breakfast. And then I've also got my water right here, and I'm gonna put Cure Hydration in it. This one is the berry flavor, one of my favorites. So planning on drinking and sipping on that in the morning. And then on the starting line, planning to eat an oat bite if I feel like it. It kind of just depends on how my stomach feels. And then I also have my planned gels here. And like I said, I'll have these hopefully all in my shorts for the most part. I have 1 extra, but planning on taking 5. Probably gonna leave this one with my husband so that he can give it to me at a point I see him, but I may or may not take it. But what I have is honey stingers. I've got 3 of the fruit smoothie ones, and then I've got 2 strawberry kiwi, and these are caffeinated. And so the plan is for every 30-ish minutes to take one, and planning to go fruit smoothie first, so non-caffeinated, and then probably caffeinated, non, and then caffeinated, then non again. I think that's my plan. So basically at 1 hour and 2 hours, I'll have a caffeinated gel. So yeah, that's the plan. Here is what we've got. I'll just kind of, so you can see what we've got going on right here. There's all the things. Wow. It's starting to really feel real, set in a little bit. I'm super pumped, but also freaking out just a little bit because like 10 hours from now, I'm going to be running 26 miles. I really don't have a ton of expectation in this race as for time. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I am 11 months postpartum, have had a baby, I'm still breastfeeding. We actually just moved like 2 weeks ago, and so life has been a little hectic and running got a little inconsistent. I've still been doing my best to get runs in each day, but the mileage may or not have been there. I tried to really put a lot of importance on workout days and things like that, and I've really done the best I can, so I'm really proud of myself for sticking to everything the best I could. Just planning to get out there and see what happens. I did actually write down a few goals, and I have them written right here. For my A goal, I have 3:15 written down, which is a little aggressive, but I think my fitness is there, and so I just feel like on a day that the stars align, I think I can run 3:15, which is 7:26 pace. And then my B goal is a Boston qualifier, and so for the 2026 race, I believe the Boston qualifying time is 3:25, and then C goal is a PR. My PR is 3:26. I set that in the last marathon I ran, which was 2 years ago, and so I'd really like to beat that time tomorrow, and I really think I'm capable of that. So I am so excited, and I can't wait to get to the starting line tomorrow.
Where's your mama? You want this? Okay. There you go. See your mama. There you go, Ma.
Let him go.
There she goes.
Come on, Kaylin! And one of our top 10 women, Miranda Self, Wichita, Kansas. And for the women, here we go. Kaylin Nelson from Mulberry, Arkansas.
Just finished the OKC Memorial Marathon. If you can't already tell, I'm back home from the marathon, and it's now actually been a couple of days. But I did want to recap on the race and just share a little bit about it and my experience. So the reason that there's a delay in me even filming this portion of the video is that, first of all, the marathon just wiped me out. I was so tired the rest of the way home. To be honest, I didn't even really think about filming. And then the next day I had to jump back into work. And then obviously I still was a mom, a wife, I had things to do while also struggling to walk up the stairs. And so it's been a little bit exhausting to say the least. But I am getting to the point where I can at least walk normal, which is a plus. With that being said though, the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon was amazing. I had so much fun, and it is just a well-organized, amazing race for a great cause, and it was super cool to be a part of. I haven't run any of the majors, and so I'm not really sure what those crowds are like, but I just know from my own experience in different races, this is by far the most energetic crowd that I've ever gotten to run through, and it was just so cool. But for anyone that wants to hear all about the race, let me just start at the very beginning. So the morning of the race, we got out the door a little bit later than I'd hoped. I obviously have a kiddo we were having to get, and don't tell my husband I said this, but he is not an early bird, so I kind of had to drag him out of bed as well. However, we got to the starting line, in which I felt like was a plenty of time, but I still had to breastfeed my son and then hopefully get warmed up. And then, as any other person that runs knows, you need to use the bathroom before one of these races. So I just had that little checklist I knew I had to get done. The problem was, where we started, I was in Corral A, so we needed to get to the starting line, but the parking up there was just crazy, and so we parked all the way basically at the back of the starting line, which I thought was fine and I thought worked out well because we didn't have to sit in traffic. But I think every other person had the opposite idea, and so a lot of people had parked up towards the front and were now moving backwards towards their corral, and then we were moving forwards, so we were working against the crowd. And with it being such a large race, that was chaotic. I just can't even hardly explain it, but we couldn't even get through the crowd, which was crazy. And so I thought we had a lot of time, but by the time we got to my corral entrance, It was less than 10 minutes to start time. They were already doing the national anthem, and I still hadn't gone to the bathroom. And I was freaking out because I drank a coffee the morning of, I'd already eaten. It was hitting me, like I needed to go. So I had to get in line, and it was really long. So I'm just standing there hoping for the best. I'm doing high knees, some butt kicks. I'm trying to stretch while I'm waiting to go to the bathroom, and also freaking out because I'm just like watching the time, and it is just slowly kicking down. And by now it's like 5 minutes to start. So I'm actually a little stressed, but I went ahead and just prayed. I was trying to calm my nerves, and I just prayed for peace. I finally make it to the front of the porta potty line. I get in there. It is no joke, less than 3 minutes to start time. I go to the bathroom so fast, and I run back into the corral. There's now less than 2 minutes left. So I have never been in that situation. I'm usually really early. That was not ideal or what I had hoped for. However, I feel like I stretched out pretty good. I was wanting to kind of like warm up as the race went on anyway, so I tried to tell myself that it wasn't a big deal that I didn't get to jog around. Whether or not that was in my head doesn't matter. I convinced myself, so that is what matters. Anyways, so yeah, I was on the starting line, ready to go. I did get my checklist finished, just was a little crazier than I'd hoped. And then the gun went off. We got going, and at first it's just pure adrenaline. We're getting started. I was a little bit emotional because I just was at my first marathon as a mom, my third marathon ever. I was so excited to be there, so excited that I was healthy. And so we just took off, and I wanted to be conservative. And I kind of set some goals beforehand. I really wanted to get a Boston qualifier. And then I had a PR of 3:26 before the race, so I really wanted a PR. And I knew on a good day, I felt like I was fit enough to run about 3:15, but I also knew it was a little bit of a long shot. The weeks leading up into the race had been a little bit crazy. We had some things going on that caused my training to just be a little bit rocky, so I didn't want to just set that expectation and be upset if I missed it. So I told myself that, I was gonna go for it. I had put a lot of work into this race, made some sacrifices, and I just really wanted to enjoy it. I was listening to Allie on the Run's podcast the other day, and it was with Jess Tunn and Emma Bates, and I can't remember which one of them said it, but they were like, if you're not having fun, what's the point? And that was kind of my mindset in this race. Like, why would I put myself through this if I'm not gonna have fun? So let's have some fun during this race. Not sure if anyone really cares to know the splits. However, me talking about my race is kind of like opening a can of worms, and I just can't stop talking about it once we get going. So here we are. So for the first half of the race, I went 7:06, 7:11, 7:14, 7:06, 7:11, 7:18, 7:16, 7:09, 7:22, 7:23, 7:23, 7:28, and 7:15. At this point, I was rolling. I felt really good. I feel like all of my fueling had gone well so far. I had been taking a water cup at every water station, so I was staying hydrated. Basically, a lot of things I'd done wrong in other marathons, I had done right up to this point, so I was really happy with it. And at this point, we had turned off from running with the half marathon, and I feel like things got a little bit quieter from that point. I think it was about mile 9 where it split. The course definitely had a lot more spectators that were on the half marathon course side of things, so once we turned off, there wasn't quite as much crowd support, I'd say, until later in the race. So also at that point, I was kind of able to start focusing, lock in, kind of start figuring out more like, okay, do I feel okay? What does this effort feel like? Am I pushing too hard? Things like that. So I wanted to make sure that I really stayed in control, stayed relaxed, because also I knew that around mile 21, there's a really long incline that you're running up. And so already it's tough enough at that point in a race, 21 miles in, you're pretty tired, and then now you have an incline. So I knew that was coming, so I also just wanted to make sure that I had some legs in me if I could. Mile 14 was 7:13, then 7:21, 7:23, 7:20. I will say about this point, I was definitely starting to feel like I was running a marathon. I feel like there's just a point in these races where you're like out here running, you're focused, and then there's just a point where you're like, okay, I've run a lot of miles. I was very aware of that, and like I said, I was trying to remember, there's still a lot of race left. And I also want to note my longest training run was 18 miles. And at this stage of my life, 18 miles was all I could do. And so I had to be happy with that and hope for the best. But I did know that that was 8 miles short of a marathon, so I wasn't really sure how my legs would hold up. So then the next miles, 18, 19, and 20, I went 7:40, 7:34, and 7:36. At this point, I was mentally feeling good, I was confident. However, the legs were definitely, the turnover was not there as much. The knee drive, not there as much. At this point, we've got to start running with our heart, enjoy it, think of the finish line, think of your family. And so mile 21 went 7:42. Mile 22, 8:19. This is where we hit the incline, and this is where it starts to hurt. So mile 23, 8:25, I'm hurting. We are running uphill. I have run 23 miles, 5 more miles than I did in a training run, and I am just, at this point, telling myself not to stop. I'm just like, keep going, trying to be positive, basically saying every encouraging thing I can think of. And then mile 24 was a 9:16. This is the point where I wanted to quit, I will say. I was like, what if I just walk it in? However, I knew my time was still in a good spot. I had a great chance of PRing if I would just finished. And at this point, I was like, the faster I run, I'm just pulling seconds off of that PR. So that was kind of keeping me going while also knowing that my legs felt like 1,000,000-pound weights. So yeah, that 9:16 also came from I walked through a water station. I kind of regrouped, got me some water, got a good drink, because when you're running, sometimes you just don't get as good of a drink. Then I told myself to suck it up, to finish this race and get to the finish line. So mile 25 was 8:47. I still really didn't speed up, but I was running. I was still running, and for me that was a win. I was working hard. And mile 26 was an 8:02. I mustered up a little energy to run an 8:02. And then for the last 0.2 miles, my watch says 7:13. So obviously the crowd support at that point is really energizing. I was just trying to get to the finish line. Also at this point was kind of getting emotional because I was finishing a marathon, and that is just so cool. So for anyone that finishes a marathon, I feel like maybe you have this feeling as well. But after running 26.2 miles and knowing how much you've trained, finishing these it's just such a cool feeling. It really is. You like cross the finish line, and I don't know, it's just like an overwhelming feeling of just like pride as well as relief. And I was just kind of overjoyed. My official time ended up being 3:19.14, which I was ecstatic about. That was a 7-minute PR, Boston qualifier, and it was just so fun too. There's a lot of things I feel like I can improve on, a lot of things I want to do better in my next one, but also I just really was proud of myself for getting to that point, for training for this, for having so many early mornings, and just finishing something that I was really proud of, challenging myself. It was just really cool. So again, shout out to the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon for putting on such an amazing event. And also big shout out to my family for all going. It was so awesome seeing them afterwards. And then just anyone who took the time to tell me good luck or congratulations. That was also so sweet, and I am so thankful for every one of those people. And while I'm gonna take a fat little break, I am already kind of getting excited for whatever's coming next. Thank you guys for coming along with me to run my first marathon as a mom, and I hope you guys subscribe and continue to watch to see what's next.